All right, Monday, new week. We're looking at a completely different time frame, one that I haven't really looked at before. Not as far as technical analysis goes, but as I mentioned last week, I wanted to start making adjustments as to either looking at the the market for entries and exits and everything like that, either a lot more or a lot less, because it's just been a lot of breaking even, a lot of just chopping around in the middle, back and forth, and it shows me that I have an edge, but there's not enough of the strategy definitely works, but the execution of the strategy needs some fine tuning in order to actually see the growth in the equity curve of the actual account. So the adjustment that's being made, still same strategy, just from a different perspective, is to look at it on a much bigger time frame, um, and look at much bigger moves. So one of the things that I was looking at is, okay, so if I'm looking at the daily chart, I see a very obvious area of opportunity with this rally based drop with that made a new low. There's another opportunity right here. Is drop base drop right here. This is probably the better zone because it's the origin of the move. And again, this is on the daily, and I don't know what's going on. What would be the let me see if I can. Yeah, there's a zone here too. It's just covered with all of my anchors and everything like that. There's a zone up there as well. I just have to remove the anchors to see it, and I'm not going to spend time doing that right now. But we might do that when price gets up there. Hopefully it doesn't though. I want this zone to hold, because we've been getting a lot of. If I zoom in a little bit to the hourly, we've been getting a lot of fake out divergence, right? Momentum dying down. This is a bearish divergence, but it faked up and it faked me out, and price continued to go up. Same thing over here, bearish divergence, but price continued to go up, and it's not even really making any significant lows. It's just like it almost looks like it's going straight up since last almost all of last week. And I definitely took some losses. I took about, I think, like 3 losses trying to push this back down, taking the um, this bearish divergence as a signal. I took 3 losses and maybe a couple of break evens as well. Like nothing actually panned out. So uh, that's to be expected when you're looking at a shorter, like a smaller time frame, especially since on the larger time frame, all of last week is pretty much, aside, once this daily zone was broken, it was just kind of a clear shot all the way up to the next zone, and let's see if this holds. So the daily zones is definitely way more reliable, considering how little I trade and how little attention I spend on the charts and I spend to analyzing the markets. I just look for, like, I just know kind of in general where we're at on a fundamental basis, on a macroeconomic basis, and just look for quarter entries with a couple of confluence pieces of evidence from indicators like the RSI or candle formations or something like that. So the higher the time frame, the more reliable those things tend to be. So let's give it a shot on the daily. The adjustment that I would need to make on the daily, if I'm looking at it from a daily, is I need everything to be bigger. And in order to trade less, I need to be able to withstand bigger movements for a longer period of time, to let the trade breathe and do its thing, right? To either get stopped out or take profit. I'm not going to really mess with it. That would be messing with the strategy. I'm not messing with the strategy. I'm just tweaking the size of said strategy. So I'm experimenting with, and I don't know if I want to do this yet. I'm tempted to, but I'm looking at something where I do this, where I'm like, okay, here, where I actually use the entire quarter as the size of my risk. And so in a situation like this, I would go, 500, and my stop would be all the way at the 750, and my target would be a full 1,000 points down from there. And then, do I have room for this trade to actually make sense? Is there enough runway? It could take It could take a day. It could take weeks, right? For this to actually pan out. And no, this is way too big. That's way too big. The lot size needs to be like way smaller. Um, so I'm risking $50, and it's hard to see right now because I have another trade in the middle of it, and TradingView is not going to let me hide that. It's if I hide one, it's going to hide both. So you just kind of have to bear with me here. Maybe I'll do it like this. Um, this is easier. Entry is at the 500. Profit is at 32,500, and the stop is at the 750. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at right here. So I'm looking at, and to me, there's enough room for this to actually pan out on the daily, because I don't really see any kind of traffic where I might lose, where the price might reverse, because this pretty much went straight up for the past, I guess we'll start from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I guess today it just went straight up. It's you could say that it's due for a pullback or correction, because every impulse is followed by a correction, and is the correction going to be big enough to hit my target 1,000 points down? I think from a technical perspective, there's plenty of room. The first place that I would get worried is around this area. So I might fall a little bit short because there is this wick over here. You could argue that this is a rally. No, not really. This is not really a zone here. I was going to try to maybe squint and force this into a rally-based rally kind of thing, but it's not. The close is way above the previous close, so you can't. It might look like it at first, especially if I squeeze it down like that, but technically this is not a zone, but it could be, right? There is a quarter there, so it might fall a little bit short. If I only could get 3-1, a 3-1 out of this, instead of a 4-1, I'd be okay with that. Like if the trade looked like, how do I make that work? So if the profit was actually at the 750 instead of the 500, and it looked like that instead, I'd be okay with that as well. This is just, I'm still just experimenting. I like even numbers, so I have a bias towards making this, a 4-1, an even 1,000 point move, and I think there is room for that as well. But this is a different level of psychology, like. And I'm not sure that I am. It would be. I think I can handle it, but it would be an adjustment. I have to kind of stretch my own psychology, and being able to handling the movement inside of a quarter move separately. So because the stop loss is literally a full size target for what I've been used to doing. So this is kind of like a big adjustment. Even though theoretically on paper it might make sense, and a one win is much bigger than what I'm currently working with the day trades. But it is something that I'm looking at. I mean, I'll just leave this here to see, if as kind of like a forward test, but not with any kind of real money at stake or any kind of real account margin at stake. but that's it really for now. Hopefully this trade pans out because this is just a setup that I had for as a day trade, and let's see if something like this. I'm gonna keep it small, and I'm gonna move it if I can move it. To where it theoretically would have hit. Okay, so theoretically, if I were to have taken this, it would have hit. Let's leave it open, and let's see if it pans out. So chart is going to get a little bit messier with these extra drawings and stuff. I'll remove these zones so that it's a little bit cleaner because we know where they are. Well, I know where they are. So let's give ourselves a little bit of room here. So we're playing day trades inside of this area, but we're looking for a larger swing trade that could take weeks for this to go from 33,500 all the way down to 32,500. Let's see how that pans out. It'll be an extra layer of content for the week and maybe even on into next